Are we live?
We're live.
We're live? I still got to wait for the show up on the screen to make sure we're live.
We get paranoid. We get paranoid if we don't pop up on the screen right away.
Yeah, the draft. When that happened for the draft, it was just chaos. It was like trying to figure it out.
But now we figured it out.
Here we go. We are live. All right, what's going on?
But now we figured it out.
What's going on, Cracker Jacks?
Oh, we're currently witnessing producer Julian try to find his way out of the. There you go. He did it. Hi, everyone.
Day 5 of New York Giants training camp. First day of fully padded practice, so we got to see running the ball.
Woo!
Which is actually a positive for the offense. And Saquon Barkley might have been the star of the day today because he really did look good. But we've got a lot to talk about. The passing offense did not look good. I mean, Daniel Jones finished with 6 straight incompletions, and then went 5 for 13 on the day. So we'll get into all that. Some more Lemieux stuff. Lemieux is really sticking out to me these past couple of days. I'm really in on the Shane Lemieux hype train. Justin, what'd you think of practice today?
Yeah,
we can start with Daniel Jones since it's a today it deserves talking about, and he's the quarterback.
Wasn't thrilled. I'm gonna be honest, and are you concerned? Are you not concerned? Blah blah blah. I think that's a very overrated kind of conversation. Like, this is the first day of pads. I think there's a value to talking about why Daniel Jones was not good today. I mean, to me, he looked uncomfortable. I mean, yeah, he did have 6 straight incompletions. There were 3 incompletions that really stuck out throughout practice. There was one ball that was behind Kenny Golladay, where he just threw it totally behind him. And then there were 2 that he kind of skipped. Like, it didn't even reach his receiver.
Yeah.
I don't really think that has been like a Daniel Jones, a ball not reaching his receiver. I don't really think that's been like a huge problem throughout his career. So really, I guess, if this is a good takeaway about being bad, if there's a part where you're going to be a little bit indecisive and a part where maybe your confidence isn't there, especially when Wink Martindale's bringing the kitchen sink, it is the first day of pads and it is the early part of camp.
It's kind of an interesting situation because you do have Wink Martindale, who, offensive coaches say, hey, he's the hardest coach to prepare for, and you're not preparing specifically for, you're not game planning for his defense.
No.
So they're throwing a ton at you. Plus, they've talked about how this offense is a little more complicated. Receivers have more options, and in the offseason, when you hear that, it's fun. But sometimes when you see it's not working so well, it gets a little more ugly.
The joke that I said before the show that got us was option routes and everything in a complex offense is fun until you have Ruben Randle circa 2013, 2014, and Eli. Well, not 2014, 2013, and Eli Manning leads the league in interceptions because Ruben Randle doesn't know what route to run. So.
Bookend Tackle says audio issues, or is it just me? Does anybody else have any audio issues?
Julian, check it out.
But yeah, I had Daniel Jones 5 for 13. All right, it might just be you.
Might just be you. Sorry.
The Giant Take said, "Yep."
Yep.
Do you all right? Some comment audio issues if there's audio issues.
Okay, let's keep going though.
So when they started the day, like I had Daniel Jones started 5 for 7.
Yeah.
And the ball, audio's fine. Yeah, we're good. So the ball was coming out quick, which was something that we talked about with Smealk, and you talked about on the last live stream. Was like, it's not necessarily like the throws by Daniel Jones or decision making. It's that he's holding onto the ball for a long time, and it was very noticeable. When John Smealk made actually had like the same exact point to us in the interview for tomorrow's podcast. So it started out 5 for 7, but it looked like a better 5 for 7 than in previous days, where the ball was coming out quick, and then it just kind of fell apart. Like I said, 6 straight incompletions where there were misses. Some guys were blanketed in man coverage, and Wink was throwing the blitz, and he's getting the ball out quick.
Today too.
Yeah, which I liked.
Sacks.
So there was one pass. It was like, okay, that's a sack.
Darnay Holmes came in on a blitz, and I think that they called the play dead right there and then.
Yeah, so that was nice to see that they were doing that because Brian Dable said before practice we're going to work on just some regular stuff. So I like that they were doing that, and if there was 1st and 10 and there was a sack, they made it 2nd and 18.
Our friend we have breaking news. Chris Kennedy, thank you for bringing it up. We saw Dane Belton with a sling around his arm today. Giants rookie safety Dane Belton has a broken collarbone per sources, and he will be sidelined with an extended period of time. There still remains hope he can be ready for the start of season per Jordan Ronan.
All right. Talk about that a little bit while I tweet it from Talking Giants.
So,
and then Julian, I'll send it. Julian, do a graphic of it.
So this is one of the first injuries in the secondary and a very thin secondary group, right? A very young secondary group. Dane Belton has been out there with the starters, especially when Wink Martindale has chose to run a lot of 3 safety sets throughout the first week of camp. That has been something that's been happening. You've had Xavier McKinney, Julian Love coming in on blitzes. Julian Love has the majority been in the box safety. Xavier McKinney has been mixing between being out, patrolling center field, and then also being in the box. But Dane Belton has been the guy to be patrolling center field. So I'm going to be very, very interested. It's probably going to be Andrew Adams. Andrew Adams has already been getting those second-team reps. So is Andrew Adams going to be that center field safety, that deep center field safety? We'll see who's going to be getting those reps tomorrow.
When they were doing the 3 safety sets, Belton was playing the center field safety.
Solely.
Had a nice interception on Saturday, so I would assume that Andrew Adams goes in that position. You don't want Yusuf Corker playing that role.
Or Trenton Thompson.
Trenton Thompson, he hasn't really done anything special. So the Pro Football Doc, who I kind of hate those accounts, says with Playton could be back in about 8 weeks, seems to be an ideal IR and come off week 4. Yeah, broken collarbones could be different.
It could be tricky.
Daniel Jones in his last year of college came back 3 weeks after a broken collarbone.
Jordan Aranon just said it's possible he comes back before the regular season. So
so we'll see with that. Julian make an Instagram post for it. But that was a position we talked about where it's like, man, one injury can make them really thin. Now, luckily, it's the third safety that's got it and not Xavier McKinney or Jordan Love because that puts you in a bad situation. But
Jordan Love?
So Jordan Love and Xavier McKinney. I actually am not excited for the injury, but now I'm excited to see who they put into that third role tomorrow because
no more.
Let's they didn't run much. They didn't really run any 3 safety sets today, though. But.
I was thinking about this today because I'm trying my best to watch the backup secondary guys. There was a part of practice where I was waiting to see Cordell Flott out there, and even with the second teams, he wasn't out there. I don't know if that's.
He played outside today.
Yeah, I don't. There were some second team reps where he wasn't on the field, so I'm like, why? It's not necessarily a reflection on him. I don't know. I was just trying to find him, but it's just one of those things of the pre-camp fear that we have of. We don't want to lose any secondary players because you just don't know who's going to come up and you don't know who's ready. It seems like the defense is gelling together quite well right now. Hopefully these guys in the secondary can continue to stay healthy.
Other points on the offense, Shane Lemieux. John Feliciano, by the way, we're going to talk about this a little more in depth for tomorrow's podcast.
Yeah.
Interesting that he's been about 4 days with a hydration issue. It seems like there's going to be a little more to the story there.
Didn't Dable hint at that he's struggling through a few different issues? Didn't he throw that
He didn't make it seem like it was a different injury, but I don't know. But I don't think they would lie about it being hydration. So maybe it was like something really serious. We don't know. But I will say the offense. Jameel Douglas just sucks. He flat out sucks. Good. Shouldn't make the roster.
They need to also stop giving him first-team reps, too, because
I think the issue is they want Shane Lemieux to play guard and John Feliciano to play center, so they don't want to have Shane Lemieux just at center. But
it's costing the team reps.
It's
killing plays.
It's been ugly. Even on one-on-one, Jameel Douglas was getting bull rushed. But Shane Lemieux has looked just flat out good these last few days of camp. And then you put Josh Azuda at left guard. He's athletic. He's looked halfway decent. Shane Lemieux has looked flat out good. If anyone's stock has risen in my mind the most this camp, it's Shane Lemieux. And we talked about him a lot this offseason about how we still have hope for this guy. I think he could be a good offensive lineman in the NFL. And he has looked good going up against Dexter Lawrence. If you say who's won the battle between Shane Lemieux and Dexter Lawrence over these past couple of days, it's easily been Shane Lemieux. Even in one-on-one drills, Shane Lemieux stonewall Dexter Lawrence. Leonard Williams beat him one time, but hopefully Leonard Williams is beating a guy like Shane Lemieux. So I'm very excited for Shane Lemieux, and honestly, I know the coaching staff probably will not do this, but why not? If Azudu's ready to go, why not let Shane Lemieux steal that starting center job over a stopgap player who's not that good in John Feliciano?
Yeah, I 100% agree, and it was something that we were quietly hinting at a couple weeks ago, hey, why haven't we heard that Shane Lemieux has been getting snaps at center? You would think that maybe that's a good backup plan. That's a good, it's a good fallback. If that is the best version of the Giants' offensive line, which I think it's not dependent on if Shane Lemieux can do it, because I think he kind of can do it. And also I think that the element is can you call out protections at the line of scrimmage, which that's a huge part of being a center.
Which
and
they
John Feliciano
have looked better doing it. Like they've picked up protections when Shane Lemieux's been in there. Where that day 3 when it was just Jamil Douglas solely, they couldn't pick up anything. Like there hasn't been these busted protections. There's been times where guys are coming free off the edge. But that's what happens when you're facing a Wink Martindale.
But I think it's more or less dependent on if Azudu's ready. I don't think it's dependent on Shane Lemieux. I think it's dependent on if Josh Azudu's ready to play left guard, and then Shane Lemieux can slide over to center.
And I think it depends on how they view John Feliciano, because he is kind of like they did. Brian Dable and Bobby Johnson did bench him, but they did bring him here for a specific role to help run this new offense.
And he was signed as a center. It wasn't signed as an offensive lineman. Like it was very, very much publicized and promoted that the Giants have their say. It was promoted by the Giants themselves that the Giants have signed center John Feliciano.
I want to remind the chat that we're going to hit some questions at the end. Right now, we're treating these like a practice recap article in video form.
Yeah.
So, leave comments, because there is sometimes when they catch my eye.
Yeah, like for example, thank you to Chris Kennedy for telling us that Dane Belton broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
That was great. That
was other fantastic. Things. So they ran the ball well today. Like that's was the one thing. It was like, one, there were holes, which is a lot of times running the ball in practice is really tough.
It's kind of not worth looking at, but today it actually was worth looking at.
Saquon looks good. He was hitting the hole hard. He was explosive. He wasn't hesitant. Like he looked good. Like there should be some excitement that he's playing behind the best run blocking offensive line he's ever played behind in the NFL. And he's, you've talked about it a bunch with a lot of guys, the 1 year removed from the ACL, MCL injury. Obviously last year he was very hesitant. Plus he didn't trust the leg. He didn't look explosive. You saw times where in his mind he was trying to do things that his body just wasn't letting him do. So if we can get a Shane Lemieux a Saquon Barkley where we don't have to force him to run and get those 2 yards or bounce, because guess what? We're going to open up some holes, and it's going to be a little easier decision. That's something we talked about. Is Saquon does have an issue being hesitant, but a competent run blocking offensive line helps hide some of those issues with Saquon Barkley, and it'll let you like pick and choose. Like, okay, this is the time where I'm going for the home run.
Yeah, today's practice was the first time where we saw like more than one running play being run in a row.
Yes, like it was more run plays today than pass plays.
Yeah. Whereas the first week of practice when they're just in tops or they're just in helmets, where it's basically just a glorified 7-on-7. So it was fun to see. And usually, like Bobby said, running the ball in training camp at an NFL practice, you can't really take a lot from it. But we did take some things from it, where Saquon Barkley did have some nice gains. Antonio Williams did have some nice gains. Matt Breida as well. It was fun to see Mark Glowinski and Shane Lemieux, when Shane Lemieux was at guard and Glowinski at guard, that they were pulling at the same time, and they were running some outside zone stuff. They were running some
getting
pitches,
outside the tackles.
Outside the tackles.
Like it was a diverse running game, and Azudu's athleticism showed up on a stretch play. And then obviously Matt Breida's got the speed too. Let me ban this.
Nope, I got it. Done. I banned the naked.
We need to figure out to get some moderators for our YouTube chats. Other YouTubers do that. We don't. Let's see. So they're running the ball. Look good. What else did I have?
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, they ran a lot of 12 personnel. The first time they ran, Andre Miller might be ahead of Jeremiah Hall for that H-back role.
And we keep on saying Andre Miller, and it's like, well, yeah,
I brought him up a lot the other day, and it's like, oh, wow, he's getting first-team reps as the H-back.
Depending on where we I don't know if we're going to be bringing up Andre Miller on the show for tomorrow.
No, we won't.
Give me a quick little background on who Andre Miller is, where he comes from, and what he did in college.
6'2", wide receiver out of Maine, undrafted free agent. Like he looked good. He played with a bad team, but he made some tough catches. He looks pretty quick. He kind of gets off the line pretty quick, explodes through the line of scrimmage. Moved him to tight end in the NFL, and you kind of think like, oh, this is a guy who come to camp, maybe will make the practice squad, have some preseason plays, but that's it. But no, he's looked pretty good. And if he can find it, if they want him more as the H-back than Jeremiah Hall, like he has more receiving ability than Jeremiah Hall. Jeremiah Hall wasn't some great blocker at Oklahoma. He was all right. But if Andre Miller can just become like that same blocking level as Jeremiah Hall, he's going to become a much better option like as a receiver than Jeremiah Hall would be, where you can actually run him on the route trees from the tight end spot.
we haven't really seen him block yet.
No, not at all, really.
That is what I'm really looking out for. But I just find it to be so it's kind of crazy that Andre Miller, who is literally changing positions, and it's not just okay. We've seen the Rice and Johns of the world go from being a wide receiver to a tight end. But he's like being this pseudo fullback, this H-back, this tight end. He's doing a bunch of different things. You've even seen some plays where he's lined up as a wide receiver too, because that's what tight ends do in this offense as well. They're flanked out wide. I just find it to be so kind of crazy the journey of Andre Miller, and he is getting like first team reps. I think he has a decent shot of making the team right now.
Yeah, and Akins isn't getting much playing time. Ricky Seals-Jones continues to be out. Like Andre Miller might actually have a path to this team. You know, it was something that we talked about on Saturday, and it's like, okay, they ran some 12 personnel with an H-back, and Andre Miller was lined up in the fullback spot. So.
And what's interesting to see about the way that they utilized 12 personnel today is, so they had one play where he had Daniel Bellinger with his hand in the dirt, but then you had Andre Miller lined up as the pseudo H-back fullback, Saquon Barkley in the backfield, and you would think that that's, what would we call that, 22 personnel? No, 20. You would call that 21 personnel. 2 running backs, 1 tight end. But it's actually 12 personnel because Andre Miller is counted as a tight end. But then also, you can motion Andre Miller out to also put his hand in the dirt. We saw that with Austin Allen. Austin Allen and Daniel Bellinger are insert another tight end, where he went from lining up as a fullback to putting his hand in the dirt. Or these guys can flank out wide, and they, so there's just a bunch of fun things that I think you can do within 12 personnel, where it doesn't always look like you're just in 12 personnel.
Let's finish up on the offense real quick. I don't really have much more. All the offense looked bad. Tyrod had some bad misses. He had a really bad overthrow where it looked like it was going to be like an easy interception, but he even overthrew the DB. Davis Webb. We don't need to talk about Davis Webb. Lemieux looked good firing off the ball and pass pro. Yeah. So why don't you read the Bareburger ad, and then we will talk about the defense a little bit.
I love everyone in our chat so much. They want to hear about Bareburger.
Bareburger.
I don't want to hear about Daniel Jones. I don't want to hear about Bobby Skinner's interaction with Brian Dane.
I'm saving that for the podcast. I'm not talking about this on this stream.
I don't care about O'Shane Ximines looking good. I want to hear about Bareburger. Well, you're going to get your wish because Bareburger has something for everyone, yes, even you. They're a burger joint, but they aren't type to be bogged down by the labels. A phrase that I want them to adapt as a restaurant, as a brand, as a company is, we ain't your father's burger joint. Because it's true. They're very unconventional. They like to have some wild burgers that come out of left field, including elk burgers, ostrich burgers, and bison burgers. But they also have like your everyday kind of casual burgers. Also vegetarian options too, if you're a veggie burger kind of person. Their menu is filled with options for everyone, regardless of dietary preferences. There's only one restriction: you'll be limited to food that's made to taste great. In New York City, ton of locations in New York City. There's a happy hour 12 to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday, and of course they have sent us. They are sponsoring this Giants training camp series. They sent us the Giants training camp. Thank you to Bareburger. Click the link in our description to find yourself at your new favorite happy hour spot, burger joint and luncheon, Bareburger Kitchen and Bar. Thank you to Bareburger. I don't know if you have a lot of like defensive points, Bobby.
I actually don't. I want to talk about the DBs look good today.
I want to bring up that I saw Darian Beavers and Micah McFadden, since they were running the ball a lot today. I saw Darian Beavers and Micah McFadden at some points of practice make nice plays in the backfield. So it was cool to see them, continue to get involved in stuff.
I was thinking Dane Belton was looking pretty good as the third safety playing center field. So it'll be interesting to see who takes the role as the third safety while he played.
Well, he's out. Yeah,
seems
way to read your tweet.
Like the likely
Andrew Adams
bet.
Bet on it, DraftKings Sports.
Andrew Adams seems like the likely bet.
No DraftKings Sportsbook, wrong show.
But didn't see any 3 safety sets today.
Yeah, we didn't see any 3 safety sets.
Camp.
So who's going to be that? I mean, the odds are it is going to be Andrew Adams. That's that third safety. So we lost 10 people while you were trying to type out that tweet. How do you feel about that?
Maybe they were. Never mind. I won't say that. Defensively, Aaron Robinson had a really strong day. Broke up some passes, with covering Kenny Galladay, with Kadarius Toney. He plays very physical. They call him for a pass interference on Wan'Dale Robinson, but it wasn't like egregious pass interference, or they called it defensive holding actually. So he's grabby and stuff. So I mean, obviously that can become an issue. But he has looked like he's been blanketing guys in man coverage, and especially on third down. I mean, they've sent the blitz, and he's been able to hold up. Like, he hasn't gotten beat deep. He hasn't given up, like, some big plays underneath. Like, he's looked really solid, and that's a guy who this defense, I've said before, like, almost swings on how good can Aaron Robinson be and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be these DBs. They're going to be on their islands. Darnay Holmes. You saw a lot of nickel blitzes today. Darnay Holmes would have had a sack today. So they've been aggressive with bringing safeties and 3 safety sets. So Aaron Robinson is kind of the straw that may break the defense's back per se.
Jalen Holmes was playing. They are playing in their base defense, not nickel a little bit today.
First time that we've seen a base defense with three defense alignment sets.
Jalen Holmes was getting those reps, so allows Dexter Lawrence to. Where's that noise coming from? Is that from Dan or you?
Tell him to shut up.
Anyways,
Jalen Holmes.
Jalen Holmes, which I actually like because I think Jalen Holmes is a better player than Justin Ellis. Like, Justin Ellis wasn't getting those reps, and then it allows Dexter Lawrence to slide inside and play a little more one technique, 2-eye. So I actually like that. I mean, Jalen Holmes is just a more accomplished player. Nothing to write home about, but he was out there with them. Although I don't expect us to see a ton of base defense this year, regardless.
Well, they were running some heavy, 12 personnel today. So week 1 against Tennessee, probably going to see it a lot. So.
So I guess you got a little sneak peek into that.
O'Shane Ximines.
I was just gonna bring that up. O'Shane Ximines has had a good camp. Now, the reason why I'm not saying much about it or talking about it is because, remember, last year O'Shane had a really good preseason.
Yeah, I'm done, man.
So
I'm not doing it.
I do think he's gonna make the roster though. And But
then somebody significant that I think we like more is going to have to go.
I know.
And it's not going to be Jihad Ward.
I know. It just seems it's a little frustrating right now because it seems like O'Shane Ximines is going to make the roster over Quincy Roche if cut-down days were today. And it's like, you know what? We've seen O'Shane play football in the regular season. We've seen Quincy Roche. Roche was the better player last year, and that was as a rookie compared to a third-year player.
They literally benched O'Shane Ximines for Quincy Roche.
Yeah, and it's
like fully benched. Like, we didn't even see O'Shane Ximines.
But O'Shane Ximines has looked good. But again, I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
I'm not buying it at all. I'm not buying it at all. He hasn't shown to be a good he has I don't think he has any QB hits the last 2 years, or maybe one possible. No. I understand that Patrick Graham's scheme didn't allow the edge rushers to just go off, and that does hurt Quincy or O'Shane Ximines a little bit. But he should produce more than that with the amount of reps he got. And so I'm. Last year, I held out some hope for O'Shane Ximines. I'm not buying into it. Even if he has some good preseason games, we'll talk about it and say good on him. But I'm not expecting him to be a producer in the regular season.
But I'm just preparing myself for that reality to play out, where O'Shane Ximines makes a team. Probably, Quincy Roche is cut, and we're sad. Preparing for that.
Yeah, I can see that being the cut. Every year there's a cut that really bothers you. Actually, last year there wasn't a one that really bothered me. I could see Quincy Roche being that one.
Not on the top of my head.
Other notes on the defense, like you mentioned, Micah McFadden had some good plays. Darian Beaver, some decent plays. They're managing. I will say it's basically clear cut now that Darian Beavers is ahead of Micah McFadden on the depth chart, even though he was taken 2 rounds after. Whenever Blake Martinez comes out, Darian Beavers goes in.
I don't know if that's clear cut, because there were days where Micah McFadden got more reps earlier in camp than Darian Beavers. From what I saw.
But none with the first team. Darian Beavers has gotten first-team reps. Micah McFadden hasn't gotten a single first-team rep. Micah McFadden has gotten third-team reps, but he hasn't gotten a single first-team rep. So that's interesting. Cordell Flott working on the outside a little bit. I didn't really notice him much, but they did work him on the outside with the twos. We know that Flott has possibly the ability to play on the outside. He has the athletic profile to play on the outside. Where a guy like Darnay Holmes doesn't. The Darnay Holmes, Afro Darnay, the turnover streak ended. So we're going to need 2 out of him tomorrow, so we could say that he's had 6 turnovers in 6 days of practice.
Yes. Can I set a goal for tomorrow, and can I tell everyone what my goal is? My goal is I am going to watch Evan Neal as much as possible.
I think that's good because he was on the opposite side of the field and he hasn't had the greatest camp. So I'm interested to hear what you say about him tomorrow.
Like people are saying that he hasn't had a good camp, but I want to know like why. Like what is happening? What am I seeing? What is he actually doing? Who is he going up against?
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear from you tomorrow on this stream. To like, hey, let's get a full report on how Evan Neal looked today because because he was the best pass blocker, because he's a little more clean than other guys. He does need to work his feet a little better, when he's working against the edge. It's like sometimes the guys are getting to that outside shoulder and his feet aren't moving with them and they're able to get around the corner. O'Shane Simmons did it a couple times in one-on-one. So, I'm very interested to hear about that tomorrow on the stream. So we'll
get to the bottom of it.
Let's take some questions. We'll take questions for about 5 minutes or so. I think we got through all of our notes.
Is the entertainer going tomorrow?
I do believe so. I got a text. In fact, I'll text him right now while we wait for some questions.
Yeah.
If entertainer goes tomorrow, he will be with us for the live stream
tomorrow. He'll come back with us.
So.
Is Carter Coughlin likely gone? I'm going to say yeah.
I do think he's gone. Cam Brown probably has a little more of the special team pedigree, even though Carter Coughlin does play special teams. I do think Carter Coughlin probably is gone though.
Yeah. If you're not running with the second team, at least in my opinion, you're like a fringe. You're a fringe guy.
Let's see.
You know who I saw make a play or two today?
Who?
DJ Davidson.
Did he really? He consistently the first guy out there. I didn't notice anything from him.
Yeah, I saw him. Pushing the pocket a little bit, especially on some run plays. So you got a chance to actually see him. He's been with like the third team.
Thomas Panicola, how's both KTs looking in pads? Kadarius Toney didn't. He was blanketed a couple times. Today.
He got a little frustrated today.
Yeah.
He didn't get a clear story on what exactly happened.
Julian Love broke up a pass in the red zone, and KT, kind of just walked. They took him out, but anyways, that's the Kadarius Toney hype hasn't matched the first 2 days, the last few days. So hopefully we can get some more Kadarius Toney involved.
So here's something significant with Toney that Dable talked about, and I want to compare it to some of the things coming out of Giants camp last year. Dable talked about today how, with the possibility of adding more to Toney's plate in terms of becoming more versatile in the offense. I think he used the word position. I don't know about not changing position, but, just adding more to Toney's plate and being more versatile in the offense. And Toney was like, yeah, I'm very excited by that. And Dable told that story. Whereas this time last year, there was concerns of, how is, Toney's buy-in. How is Toney digesting the playbook? Is he understanding the playbook? Yada, yada, yada. Is he even practicing? Is he even out there? So I really thought that was a nice breath of fresh air in terms of Kadarius Toney buying in and really getting to know this playbook, being familiar with the offense, et cetera, et cetera. So I was really happy when Brian Dable talked about that.
Jeff Good said, what was the main rushing scheme? Outside zone between tackles. They did mix it up a little bit, but it was mostly between the tackles. They had the guards pulling or running a little bit of power on the inside. But I would say it was more so inside the tackles, and there was some good holes. Antonio Williams, he had a really nice cutback on a play where it was like he going boom, the line kind of set up a V for him, and then bam, took off, and it would have been a nice run for him. Let's see what else we got.
Is Adoree going to cover the smaller wide receiver and A-Rod cover the bigger guys going off Adoree on KT all practice?
They're switching it up, but there was plenty of reps where Aaron Robinson was covering Kenny Golladay. So they're switching it up.
That's been a common theme.
They're switching it up. They're not just playing one side, but they are switching it up a little bit. Playing a lot of man coverage, and I will say for a defense that we were worried about man coverage, and maybe the Giants offense right now isn't the best to gauge it out, but they have looked good playing man coverage and blitzing. That's when the defense has looked at its best. When it's had some issues is when they drop back in the zone and these receivers have been able to find holes and Jones has been able to hit them.
Yeah. Wes asked, have you noticed a drastic difference in the play of the first-team defense compared to the second-team defense? I mean, definitely I think the first-team defense puts a lot more pressure on the quarterback.
Definitely. That's the biggest difference.
But also, now it's
and
funny.
Richie James is able to kill the second-team DBs.
Now, even though I find the first-team defense putting more pressure on the first-team offense, I am concerned about the backup offensive line and the depth offensive alignment on this team.
Yeah, Bredesen got blown up a few times.
Now, it's to be expected because
the tackles haven't been god-awful, I will say that.
There's four – well, I mean, Quincy Roche's been winning a lot. So
yeah, that's true. You're right.
We sometimes think that Matt Gano is Evan Neal because he wears number 73, and we're like, oh,
that really does screw with you.
Evan Neal just got beat. Oh no, it's Matt Gano. It's kind of to be expected though, since there's 4 new starters on the offensive line, especially if you include Shane Lemieux that's coming off of injury. So let's hope nobody goes down.
This could be a 2020 situation where we're excited for the offense and worried about the defense, and the defense has been a little more exciting than the offense.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not that much of a difference. All right, we'll take a couple more questions. I saw people I'm going to talk about, and this is how you get people onto the podcast.
Sure.
Check out the podcast. It'll be 8 a.m. on YouTube, and then the podcast app's at like midnight or whatever.
Yeah, midnight.
I'm going to save the Brian Dable stuff because it involves us recording camp, and I want to actually talk about that a little more in depth with people. So we'll do that. Let's see. Who do you think is going to be RB3? I think it's pretty safe to say Antonio Williams at this point.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's good. I mean, we're at 30 minutes.
Yeah, we basically hit 30 minutes.
Sometimes I want to take these 45, 50 minutes, but it's like, you know what? People use these as their practice recaps. They don't listen live.
We got to save it for the pod.
Yeah, save it for the pod. And we're doing these after every practice, so we don't want to go too crazy. So we appreciate you guys. Check out the podcast tomorrow. Check out the PPPs that are out today, Kadarius Toney and Tay Crowder. And then we'll be back doing another practice recap tomorrow, possibly with Entertainer. Did he text me back yet? 1, 2, 3.
Did he text you back?
Yes, sir. All right. So Chris the Entertainer will be with us for our live stream tomorrow. We appreciate you guys. See you on the next one. Let's go Big Blue. Danger Jones, play better tomorrow.
Don't hit end.